welcome to Oschersleben. It's the second race weekend of the DTM season and we're thrilled to be here. It's very chilly, it's very cold, but it is dry. Let's hope it's going to stay that way. And now with me is Timo Scheider, getting ready for the qualifying, obviously. Now at the Hockenheimring, it was very unlucky for you, but Oschersleben seems to be your track. You got your first pole here, your first victory. Is that a good omen that today's going to work out really well?
Hopefully. For sure I try my best like always, but the emotions I have here in Oschersleben for sure positive. So coming here is always something special for me, no question. But it's a new day, a new challenge, so let's try it.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you very much, Timo. And now we're going on board with Marco Wittmann.
Hello DTM fans, welcome to the second round in Oschersleben for the DTM. And now I will show you one lap at Oschersleben. Now we go in our lap in Oschersleben. Main straight, 6th gear, we reach around 230, 240 kph. Down to 2nd gear, the slowest corner of the track, very important, especially first lap at the start. Then we have this long right-hander. You need to be very calm on throttle. Shifting up to 4th gear. Then we come to the 2nd or 3rd corner, 3rd gear. That's also a possibility to overtake in the race. Now again we're shifting up 2 gears to 5th. And now we reach the fastest corner of the track, the triple left, which is very difficult to drive. You need to find a good line and then you go directly into this right-hander. 3rd gear. Again you need to try to have a good exit. Now this very fast chicane in 4th gear, you need to find a good line and especially to have a good exit for the long straight, for the back straight. Again up to 6th gear. We reach also nearly same speed as on the main straight. Then we go 2 gears down, 4th, very fast chicane, right left. And now we go to this right-hander, also again a very fast corner, and now the final and very important corner, 3rd gear. Here you need to find a good exit for the main straight that you can overtake during this straight, and that was our lap at Oschersleben.
Thank you very much to Marco Wittmann. Then a high-speed hot lap around the Oschersleben circuit, and this is what happened in free practice. Of course, Wittmann on a high from his victory in Hockenheim. He set the second quickest time in free practice, but it was Miguel Molina, as you can see, right at the top of the chart there. Alongside me, David Addison, and well, many people say don't read too much into free practice. It's this that is important, and it's going to be quali.
It's a fascinating look, though, at free practice, because that's the first indication we've had all year, Dave, of course, of what's going to happen with the ballast, the extra weight brought in this year for the successful drivers in the top 10 in a given brand. And seeing that Hockenheim was really rather all about BMW, then it's the bulk of the BMW drivers that carry the weight. Augusto Farfus, 5 kilos on board. Joey Hand has 5. Spengler, Tomczyk, Glock and Wittmann, they have 5. Maxime Martin and Antonio Felix da Costa with 2.5 each. Of course, BMW had a really good run at Hockenheim. Mercedes quite the opposite, but in a way it's all bets off because you come to a very different sort of circuit, and this one is all about downforce.
You're absolutely right. It is very, very different, and well, we're about to get qualifying underway. Qualifying, of course, different for this, the 30th year of DTM. We're in to season 2014, and gone has the pole position shootout from the fastest top 4. It is a 3-session qualifying, which is about to get underway with quali number 1, as we see the champion out. Mike Rockenfeller, the first to get out on track. There goes Danny Juncadella. So in the space of 2 weeks, David Addison, between the disaster for Mercedes at Hockenheim and here we are at Oschersleben, what can they have done?
Well, the first thing they've done very publicly is dispense with the services of Gerhard Unger of HWA, and he has been really one of the linchpins of the Mercedes motorsport effort, and particularly the DTM, for a long, long time. Now, that's a very high-profile, I hate to call it a sacking, but a removal from post. Whether that is enough, who knows? Toto Wolff will look on, and he will perhaps still have to take notes this weekend and look at where you can improve. The drivers aren't really talking themselves up too much. They're all saying, look, we know we've got dramas, we know we're not on top of it yet, but we're trying to improve. And we've been here before with other manufacturers. Remember Audi a few years ago had the dramas with the Dunlop tyre as it then was because it was overheating because of the placement of the exhaust outlet. They'll get the data, and there's a lot of it with so many cars for Mercedes. They'll analyse it. they'll work through it even today.
Yes.
They've had that free practice, and of course the other thing that puts them slightly on the back foot is the relative lack of running these days in the DTM. You get the rollout and then free practice, then it's qualifying. You don't get 2 free practice periods like you used to. It makes it difficult for Mercedes. The short answer, what can they have done? They can have tried everything, but only now are we going to see what's worked.
And of course, you alluded to, you know, this is the first time we're going to actually see the performance weight in operation on cars, and what difference that will make. Of course, Mercedes come into this with effectively an advantage of a reduction in weight, so let's see what they can do. This man was impressive at Hockenheim until he had a clattering together with Augusto Farfus. What can Jamie Green do? He's going to be the first to show, and I'm still going to, it's going to take me a long while to get used to Green in an orange car. But there he is, Jamie Green then. Through the chicane, we're into the first part of our 3-session qualifying here at Oschersleben. You're very welcome. David Addison and Dave Richardson here to call you through qualifying for the race to come tomorrow. And the first Jamie Green. And this first part of qualifying then. We have just over 10 minutes left to run, and Jamie Green is going to give us a benchmark time as he crosses the line right now, a 1:27.86 from Jamie Green.
It's worth bearing in mind, isn't it, that this really is the part of qualifying that is about not being slow rather than being quick. The cars are at their heaviest. You can't refuel during qualifying, so when you get to Q3, they're going to be at their lightest. It doesn't matter particularly how quick you are as long as you're in that top 18 that gets you into Q2. So if you're 16th, 17th and you're in, okay, fine. It's getting in that's the key thing. So it's about not being slow. 5 will miss the cut. That's going to be the fascination, to see who we lose rather than the quick times. The car's always spectacular around here. Marco Wittmann's BMW with the sparks being spat from underneath it. He's managed to buy himself clear track space as well, hasn't he? But Jamie Green it is who has set the gun time at the moment, as Dave says, a 1:20.786. This perhaps a circuit kind to BMW, certainly in qualifying trim, because Joey Hand is the man with the lap record around here, a 1:21.2, but of course a lap record set during the race, not in qualifying. They should be able to go under that. Let's just see what Wittmann does. He runs way wide out of the last corner, doesn't he? Rattles over the curb, heads over the timing line, and the lap that he sets is good enough for third, a 1:20.907, but that's okay, as long as he stays in that top 18, that'll do.
Yes, absolutely right. And you can see there the sparks as he takes a lot out of that BMW and propels that around this Oschersleben circuit here. Out on track, we've got Green, Molina, Mortara, Wittmann, Rockenfeller, Tombe, Scheider, Muller, Farfus. We've also got Glock out there, and Hand and Juncadella. So who are we still waiting to see? And that is, well, Vitaly Petrov, who had a bit of an off just like that. In fact, you'd think it was a replay from free practice. He did exactly the same in free practice that we watched earlier. There in the familiar BMW Bang livery went Bruno Spengler, and here's Robert Wickens then. Again, another new livery for Robert Wickens, and he gets that really wrong, and that's going to compromise that lap.
Yeah, it was wrong, wasn't it, all the way out of that triple left, and then you could see that he failed to get it back under control really at that little chicane, and then he was wrong into that second gear right that loops round, so he will have scrubbed off some speed on this lap. He should be able to gain a little bit of that back, but I'm afraid this is a lap that could have been so much better. Quick word about Petrov, in fairness to the Russian. I know he's been in Formula 1, but he's never raced here before. So he's still learning about Oschersleben. And of course, he is one of those drivers dealt, if you like, a bad hand of cards because of that relative lack of track time you get now.
You're absolutely right. That's where it makes the most difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, to those that are relatively fresh into DTM. As Rob Wickens crosses the line, as you say, that really compromised a 1:22.006.
I remember talking to Andy Prio when he came into the DTM a few years ago, and he was saying there's so much to learn. He said because the likes of Spengler, as his teammate at the time as an example,
yes,
he said he knows what to do, even if the wind just changes direction ever so slightly, and how that's going to affect things. And there's all of this knowledge that you just can't replicate. You've got to learn for yourself. And Petrov, of course, is one of the drivers trying so to do. Now, Gary Paffett is one of our 7 former champions on the grid, and he's about to complete a flying lap. It will be his first of the session, so this hopefully will put him into the top 18. He goes over the timing line, and Gary Paffett goes 18th, so he is, as they say, on the bubble.
Timo Glock there. An issue with Timo Glock perhaps, or just waiting to try and buy himself some time. Let's see here as we get in replay. Clattering that car about, isn't he?
I think you're right, though. I think what he was doing was recovering from a drama and then trying to get himself some clear track space, but that is not going to help the situation for Timo Glock, and it's a big old slide. Is it going to loop? Timo, what's all this about? Round it goes. Oh dear, oh dear.
Well, there we can see Bruno Spengler with his impression of what happened there. Right, back to the task in hand then, and Jamie Green hasn't been bettered yet at the top of the table. This is Christian Vitoris. Then in the Mercedes, Sector 1, Sector 2, Dan heads towards the timing line. What's Christian going to be able to put on the board for us? Well, P12.
Yeah, that's good.
That would be enough, wouldn't it?
The one of interest, Dave, at the moment is, of course, Matthias Ekström, because he is not only the oldest man in the championship, strange to say that now, but second in the championship as well, but he's not yet done a proper flying lap. In fact, he's still shown as being in the pit lane. Right. 5.5 minutes to go. So those at the moment that are outside the top 18, Joey Hand, Pascal Wehrlein, Matthias Ekström, Danny Honkadea and Vitaly Petrov, of those, Honkadea perhaps, but certainly Ekström, you'd anticipate to be in the top 18. So there is more to see, I think, from Eki.
So a couple of the Audis in the garages relaxing, one about to get back out there on track. What have we got? Audi 1, 2, 3 at the top of the table at the moment. We go on board with Pascal Wehrlein.
This is a key lap because he's 20th. He should now break into the top 18 at the end of this lap. Let's see, goes through, and Pascal Wehrlein does so. He goes up to 11, so that now pushes Martin Tomczyk out of the 18.
Well, with just under 5 minutes remaining in this first part of qualifying, here is Vitaly Petrov. And that is Antonio Felix da Costa with a little bit of an off there, kicking up some dust. Able to get it back out onto the track.
Trouble is, he ruins effectively 2 laps, doesn't he? Because he squanders that one, and then the next one, he's potentially going to have dirty tyres, so he can ill afford to do things like that.
So Gary Paffett then P17 at the moment. He improves 2 places, goes up to P15 now for Gary Paffett, who, you know, as I think you said, you know, we consider him almost in a way to be the stalwart, don't we, of the Mercedes drivers. And, well, Gary doing his best to battle with a car that clearly isn't right.
Ekström is on track now. You're looking at Bruno Spengler, who is 9th fastest and was a little bit down on the first sector. He's done a personal best in the middle. The danger is for Bruno Spengler that he might catch traffic here, but he's okay, he's in. So Spengler, as he comes with a heavy-ish fuel load to the pit lane, bails out of the session. That, I would imagine, is that. But the one we need to monitor next is Ekström, as I say, 21st of the 23 that we have in the championship. Now, Adrian Tombe came of age at Hockenheim, didn't he? Took that pole position.
Yeah, very much so, and it was a delight to see Adrian Tombe doing so very well. And look at his first sector time of 31.4, second sector 26.7. This could be a great lap from Adrian Tombe. I think you're absolutely right. In my opinion, he shone at Hockenheim, and I'm so pleased for him. So we cross now to look at an Audi, but in the shape of that Audi Sport livery that is Miguel Molina. And now back to Tombe then, who goes P1, 1:20.508, David Addison. I said he impressed at Hockenheim with just under 3 minutes left in this session. He's impressing so far today.
Absolutely right. Adrian Tombe then in the Playboy-backed car goes to the top of the times. Now Matthias Ekström has done a personal best in the first sector. So the Red Bull Audi is the next one to keep an eye to. There it is, Ekström, personal best. If it's green, it's good. If it's purple, it's brilliant. But he runs a little bit wide and kicks up the dirt, coming onto Stadium Straight then, out of that third gear corner, speed building, and makes his way down towards the S's. Now what he's got to try and do here is avoid any traffic. He will certainly be able to squeeze one more lap out of this. This lap should be good. Whether it's good enough to get him into the top 18, we'll find out. He's looking pretty strong so far. A 1:21.799 would get him into the top 18. The lap time that he's going to post as he comes across the line now is good enough, and Ekström goes 8th fastest on a 20.981. Job done.
And as you say, he can get another lap in, but the job is done for the moment. So it's Tombe Green, Molina, Mortara, Wittmann, then it's Scheider, Rockefeller and Ekström as we speak.
The fascination for me, though, Dave, is who misses out if things stay as they are. You're looking at one of them, Martin Tomczyk. Another is Vitaly Petrov. Another is Jerry Hand. Another is Danny Honkadea. But significantly, Paul Di Resta is outside the top 18. Now, Tomczyk should be able to respond, but as things stand, that is two former champions that you could lose in Q1.
I know. So, we're watching Tomczyk then. Now, there is Tombay sector time up there. It's not looking good, is it?
He should squeeze one more lap out of this. And the trouble is, of course, Tomczyk's got Gary Paffett ahead. There's traffic.
You're absolutely right. So we're watching Martin Tomczyk then with under a minute left to run. As David, you have said, he's going to get one more lap in after this one. He's got Paffett ahead of him. He has got traffic. What can Martin Tomczyk do? Well, he can go P13.
And that knocks Gary Paffett out of the top 18, would you believe? So the phrase is still there, we lose two former champions.
Here comes Paul Di Resta then, and it's going to take a Herculean effort with those sector times, David. I don't think it's going to be done. Currently P21.
And it's a bit scrappy in the last corner.
You're right, wasn't tidy at all. It's going to cross the timing line. It's not going to improve, I don't think, no. Oh, so Paul Di Resta then, now he can do one more lap as we see the engineering team look on. Here comes Vitaly Petrov. Whoa, actually, middle sector for Vitaly, very, very good. He's currently P23. What can Vitaly do? Nothing. But he has just crossed the timing line before the checkered flag came out, so he can do another lap.
Honkadea is on a quick lap. He's done a personal best in Sector 1. He runs way wide coming towards the end of Sector 3. His middle sector was down anyway, but he's certainly trying hard, and then he aborts the lap. So we lose Honkadea. There you can see the evidence. Now Gary Paffett is 20th, and this lap is good. Two personal bests and two corners to go. So Gary Paffett has got to try to get himself into the top 18 to survive in qualifying for round 2 of the DTM. Checkered flag at the ready. Gary Paffett comes over the timing line. Is he going to be in the top 18? Yes, he is, just 18th. And while all that's going on, Mike Rockenfeller has done the absolute best of anybody in the first sector, and he's already safe at 9th.
So, and here is Paul Di Resta. Now, bear in mind where Gary Paffett is. For those that are on a hot lap, he can be bumped. We're watching Paul Di Resta now. His first two sectors haven't been brilliant. I don't think this is going to be enough for Paul Di Resta. Let's see as he crosses the line now. No, stays P21, so we lose Paul Di Resta as well.
We lose Glock, Wickens, Di Resta, Honkadea and Petrov at the moment. Mike Rockenfeller has improved there. He is to 6th. His last sector was where it unravelled a bit for him, but the Schaeffler Audi 6th fastest. Miguel Molina, by the way, ends Q1 faster than Adrian Tombay. He did a 20.4, then Tombay Green, Ekstrom, Spengler, Rocky to round out the top 6, but there are going to be an awful lot of frustrated people. And there's one, Timo Glock, because he effectively, Dave, is the first loser. He was 19th, so he's the highest placed of those that get bumped out, if you see what I mean.
Yes, you're right. He's 121.439, not enough. So there we see the Deutsche Post driver walk away. He'll be very disappointed with that after a fair showing at Hockenheim. Timo Glock.
Had he not had that spin, had he not lost the time in the session, could have been a different story.
As you say, that spin will have effectively compromised 2 laps.
Exactly.
Won't it? So, well, there we are. So out, Glock, Wickens, Di Resta, Juncadella and Petrov, and there's the car of Robert Wickens. Wickens, another one who I felt during last season was showing real promise. Undoubtedly talented. He will be undoubtedly disappointed as he climbs out of that Mercedes now.
The thing is, Dave, of course, it underlines how competitive the DTM is. There are no tuggers in this championship, and it's pure maths. You can't get 23 into 18. It just doesn't happen, does it? No. Something has got to give. And Timo Glock misses out by 19 thousandths of a second. That is how tight this is.
Yes. And some fans enjoying it, and an ice cream as well. Really rather nice. There's an overview of the Oschersleben circuit here and here. Confirmation of qualifying session 1. In then, right at the top of the chart, Molina at a 124.18, then is Tombay Green, Ekstrom, Spengler, Rockenfeller, Wittmann, Mortara, Timo Scheider, Nico Muller, Maxime Martin, and Antonio Felix da Costa. P13, Christian Vittoris, then it's Farfus Tomczyk, Jerry Hand, then it's Pascal Wehrlein and Gary Paffett, and those are the ones we lose now, David. Timo Glock, Robert Wickens, Paul Di Resta, Danny Juncadella and Vitaly Petrov. So there we have it.
Significantly, of course, of those, what have you got? 4 Mercedes and a BMW. Mercedes, again, sorry to harbour the point, but it is certainly a brand at the moment having dramas. Miguel Molina then looking very, very strong indeed, and he's fastest in Q1 by about 1/10 of a second. And now the cars are going to be lighter and there will be fewer of them, so the track is that bit clearer. So now we know, barring any post-qualifying penalties, how 19th to 23rd will line up. Glock ahead of Wickens, ahead of De Resta, Honchevea and Petrov. 1 BMW, 4 Mercedes, and all the Audis are through to Q2.
And what's interesting about that is, you know, Timo will be hugely disappointed with his performance, and that spin definitely not helping. So let's take a slow-mo look at some of those that are going out then. Vitaly Petrov is one of them. Here now is Danny Juncadella then. Here's 1:21.915, not enough. P22 for Danny Juncadella. Next up to show then is Paul De Resta, returning to the DTM for this season. Here's Mercedes AMG C Coupe, propelling him to a relatively lowly P21. Then Robert Wickens, and despite Robert's best efforts, a 1:21.595 was not enough to get him into the magic top 18. He finishes P20. Now this man, Timo Glock, perhaps a surprise, and we wonder whether it was this that actually really compromised his entire session. A 1:21.439 for Timo Glock sees him out.
And he was lucky not to get collected by Farfus,
yes,
wasn't he? That camera shot foreshortens it a little bit, but Augusto Farfus will have been mindful of the situation as he saw that man, Timo Glock, spinning across the front of him. A quick word about Robert Wickens as well, because he lost a lap time because he exceeded the track limits at turn 9, and so the lap was spotted by the officials and he had the lap time cancelled. Now, whether the lap time that he lost was good enough to put him into the top 18, we may never know, but Robert Wickens, I'm afraid to say, is out, and Timo Glock is another driver we've lost, but we can hear from Timo now.
Yes, he is right here with me. Timo, Hockenheimring was a good start for you, but now here it didn't go very well, very unlucky. You were shaking your head as you ended up in the gravel. What happened? Do you know why?
Yeah, exactly the same like in free practice. This morning in free practice we did 3 laps and then the power steering failed in turn 5 and 6, which nearly nearly put the car into the barrier and just could save it. And now just from one to the other corner in turn 10 the power steering failed again, and we have no idea why, because we changed all the parts. Everything is new in the car, so we have no idea where this comes from, and it's very strange, and it was dangerous because I just could keep the car somehow on track. But it's a shame. I mean, you know, we had only 3 laps this morning. We did 4 or 3 now, and we nearly managed to go into Q2. So it's a bit of disappointing, and now it's very difficult to get it right for tomorrow. I hope we can find the problem and somehow finish the race tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope so. Best of luck. I guess it's going to be a very long night for the mechanics. Thank you very much, Timo. Yeah, of course, he's frustrated. Back to you guys.
Cheers, and thanks, Verena. And, well, that explains it a little bit, doesn't it? Okay, qualifying drivers, Timo Scheider, Nico Müller, Maxim Martin, Antonio Felix da Costa, Christian Vittorius, Augusto Farfus, Martin Tomczyk, and also Pascal Wehrlein, Gary Paffett. We see just a few of those graphics, because right now let's go back down there with Verena, who's got Vitaly Petrov.
Yes, here I am. And Vitaly, what happened with you? I mean, P23, obviously not a good starting position for tomorrow. However, it's your second qualifying here, so I guess does that motivate you a little bit? Not really, right?
Yeah, a little bit disappointed because in free practice car felt much better and better. I don't know what's happened, but to drive was really difficult in qualifying. The car was too nervous in high-speed corner and quite a lot oversteer. But it's tomorrow we'll try to do and to improve the results. I know it's not results what we wanted, but it's my just second qualifying. We will see.
All right, thank you very much. And let's just grab Paul real quickly. Hey, Paul, you'll be starting tomorrow in P21. That must be frustrating. But also four Mercedes-Benz are out who didn't make it into the next round. What is up with Mercedes?
Yeah, I think obviously as a manufacturer we're struggling a bit, but I think I was a bit unfortunate with Timo when his power steering or something broke, what I heard. He went off in front of what was on my best lap, and then Matthias was in front of me and he had to back out and I was the person coming behind. So on your ultimate lap, when it makes a difference in a car that we have at the moment, unfortunately it knocks you out.
Well, thank you very much. That's very unfortunate. And back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. Well, that's interesting to hear what Paul was saying, that effectively he got compromised by Timo going round. But to be fair to Timo, of course, at the time, we didn't know his power steering had failed.
And what Paul DeResta says is absolutely right. We've made the point about Glock losing out by 19 thousandths. It is so competitive that the slightest lift for avoiding somebody having a drama will compromise you. No argument about that. Paul is also right in saying that when your car isn't 100% anyway, these things all conspire against you. You know, you need every fraction of a second you can get. So once again, it is Orange Jamie Green in the orange Audi who is first out, or one of the first outs, and tries to get himself clear track space. Fellow Brit Gary Paffett is behind him. Now this time around, we have fewer cars but fewer time. It's 11 minutes that we get for this, and we have now just 9 more minutes remaining. Jamie Green sets the gun time in Q1, sorry, in sector 1 I should say, and is not going to be affected, I don't think, by traffic on this lap. Having said all of that, Maxime Martin has gone quicker and Miguel Molina has gone quicker subsequently when they have gone through that sector. So the lap time we're going to get from Jamie Green will be an interesting one, it'll be a relevant one, but I expect it to be beaten in pretty quick succession by 1 or 2 of those behind him.
Well, Jamie Green, of course, moving to Audi as he did, it took him a little while to settle into that team, and I had a conversation with him after the Hockenheim race, and he was very, very disappointed with how the race ended up for him, of course, but he just feels he's had a change of team within Audi as well, and he feels more comfortable and confident where he is now, and he goes P1 with a 1:21.383.
He's then pipped because the next one through to go even faster is Nico Müller, and Maxime Martin is now the fastest, and the next one of note is going to be Miguel Molina, who goes to the top, a 1:20.433. So Miguel Molina, who does go well around here, we've seen that in the past. He was on pole here in 2011. He's currently top. Whenever you see Augusto Farfus, you catch your breath, don't you? He's one of the most spectacular drivers in anything, never mind a touring car. And Farfus in this livery, the Castrol Edge BMW, drawing attention to itself, rattles over the curb at the last corner, heads up towards the timing line, and Augusto Farfus goes through, and that is going to be good enough for 5th fastest, a 1:20.929.
So we're on board with Marco Wittmann then, who comes here to Oschersleben high on the victory of Hockenheim. His first 2 sector times 31.5, 26.8 as he heads towards the timing line now. What's Marco Wittmann going to deliver for us here? Well, he delivers P3, so it's Molina, then it's Tombe, then it's Wittmann.
And then it's Rockenfeller, or it was, because he has just been beaten by Eduardo Mortara, but Rockenfeller is relevant because he's done the absolute best in Sector 1. Remember how quick he went at the end of Q1. He's carrying on that performance and that momentum into Q2. There's Antonio Felix da Costa, one of the newcomers to the DTM this year in the BMW.
And he was impressive at Hockenheim. Unfortunately, he blotted his copybook somewhat, but that was a great shame because he did a great job at Hockenheim. He takes a lot of curve there and launches a little bit airborne, that BMW. Here comes Mike Rockenfeller, previously P5, and now goes P2. Mike Rockenfeller, a 1:25.46 for the champ.
Bruno Spengler goes top, so Rockenfeller gets elbowed back to 3rd. It is Spengler, Molina, Rockenfeller, Tombe, Wittmann, Mortara, Tomczyk, Scheider. Now, of course, the pressure is on everybody in this part of qualifying because we start with 18 and we go down to 8. So we lose 10 cars, therefore. Jerry Hand, the record holder around here, the American, now becoming very well versed in DTM, goes over the timing line. He's 12, which ain't good enough, I'm afraid. So the Crown Plaza BMW is out, and this man is also out. Pascal Wehrlein is 9th, and that means that he is about 500ths of a second. That is all away from Q3, but when it is so competitive, it is very hard indeed to find that lost time. Spengler is the fastest at the moment, then.
Yeah, Spengler, Molina, Rockenfeller, Tombe, Wittmann, Mortara, Tomczyk, then Timo Scheider, the top 8 as we speak. We've got just 5.5 minutes left to run in this part of qualifying. And here in the pit lane, some confusion with tyres there. No. And there Molina goes. Oh, the Audi flag and the thumbs up. And here's Jamie Green then as the crew go to work.
And they need to get him turned around quick, Dave, because he's down to 12th. In other words, Jamie is out at the moment. The Samsung BMW pits as well, which is Maxime Martin. the GT ace. He's been a winner here in the GT Masters, the ADAC German GT Championship, but a real hero in Blancpain over the last few years. Mike Rockenfeller has a new set of boots. Everybody, of course, on Hancooks. And he goes down the pit lane as well.
And very nearly a collision there in the pit lane as the returning Adrian Tombe nearly turned into the champion. Deft use of the brake pedal by Mike Rockenfeller there ensured that didn't happen. So Spengler then with his 124.16 tops the table. Then it's Molina 124.33.
And we've got 4 minutes and change remaining. So everybody that's on track now is going to have to put in a real banzai effort. And those mechanics that are still cycling through pit stops are really going to have to be quick.
It's a busy pit lane now, isn't it? As we reach, and there is a replay of Rocky having to lock up to avoid Tombe, who was just diving in.
And that's not really Rockenfeller's fault, I'd contend. That's down to the mechanic that releases the car. When they say go, you go. You don't stop and ask questions. Is it safe? You rely on your mechanic to do that.
Now this team really having to work hard. Ekstrom's just got, well, just over 3.5 minutes left to run. There's Gary Paffett in the Euronics Mercedes. That pit lane so busy at the tail end of this session. Paffett just seemed to have a little bit of a struggle getting away there, didn't he? I thought it was traffic, but it wasn't. There wasn't anything else in the pit lane.
At the moment, in the top 8, we are 5-3 in terms of Audi and BMW, and no Mercedes in the top 8 to get into the next part of qualifying. And we've got 3 minutes and change remaining now. Martin Tomczyk sets off down the pit lane. Right, it's time for a deep breath, and here we go to determine which 8 go into Q3. Miguel Molina goes fastest, 120.293. Miguel Molina goes top.
So Rocky then around the hotel turn here at Oschersleben. And Molina then 122.83. Spengler 124.16. At the moment, Wehrlein is the top of the Mercedes, David. P9, which of course is not enough as we're watching Maxime Martin now. As you say, he's had success here in the ADAC GT Masters. Let's see what he can deliver when he crosses the line.
Down in that middle sector, compromised.
Yeah.
And he's going to get caught up behind Gary Paffett as well if he's not careful. Tombe is the one to watch, Dave. He's just done the absolute best in Sector 1. Maxime Martin is 10th and striving to get in. Gary Paffett is 17th. It's vital that he pulls something out of the bag here as well. Let's just see as they come over the timing line. Paffett goes through and doesn't improve, and Maxime Martin does a better lap time, but he stays 10th fastest. It's at 120.904, but that's not good enough to get him in. Tombe, 2 absolute bests. This should be the quickest lap of the session.
So Adrian Tombe then, as he completes this lap, let's see what he can deliver. He's currently P4. What can Tombe pull out of the bag here? He was really impressive in Hockenheim. Is he going to impress here in Oschersleben as well? Yes, he does, because he goes P1 for Adrian Tombe, a 120.011. That's taken 2/10 out of Molina's time, which was 122.93.
We have a Mercedes in the top 8. Pascal Wehrlein has just gone 6th, and Martin Tomczyk is the casualty, therefore. He's just been dumped out of all of this. We've had another improver, which is Farfus, who's just gone up to 6th fastest, and so Mortara has been bumped, and Antonio Felix da Costa here is penultimate. He's 17th, but he's done 2 personal bests. As you can see, they've gone green, the sector times, so as he comes then now out of the final 3rd gear corner, up through the gears, over the timing line now. Is that good enough? Yes, it is 4th fastest, and that gets Pascal Wehrlein out of the top 8. We lose our Mercedes rep.
Here comes Matthias Ekstrom then, P16 at the moment. Matthias Ekstrom so determined to get into the right order here. What can he deliver? P12.
Oh dear, but he's got one more lap. He's got Spengler ahead, but he has got time enough for one more lap, and look at that, it all ebbed away in the last sector. It's a very fiddly type of circuit, Oschersleben. It's got fast bits, but it's got the twiddly, twisty bits, and that's why you've got to get the absolute optimum setup. Run too close to a car ahead and your aero is scuppered, you're going to be in trouble. Farfus, clear track space. He's doing okay, but he's 9th. He's been bumped out of all of this now by Scheider, who is 8th fastest, so Farfus is not looking sparkling in the sectors. I fear for him here for the top 8.
Yes, and in fairness, it's not traffic that's compromised him, is it? So the checkered flag will go out as we see it there on screen, and Augusto doesn't improve, stays P9. So it's goodbye to Augusto Farfus.
So near yet so Farfus, yes.
Thank you.
So he's not losing, you're quite right. So we still got a team more to shuffle around, and Gary Paffett, can you believe it, is the slowest in this 18. He really is having a mare of a session.
So Gary Paffett then, the 2 sector times don't look brilliant at all. P18, and he abandons the lap. That's it. And for someone as talented as Gary Paffett, it must be so difficult for him. Martin Tomczyk then, he hasn't done too blistering. The first and second sector, nothing to write home about here. Tomczyk is currently P13. Oh, and he wobbles a bit on the exit there. This isn't going to happen for him, is it?
The commitment was there, but I'm afraid that error, even as you'd said, Dave, it wasn't a great lap anyway. Unravels for him, goes over the timing line, and Martin Tomczyk stays 13th fastest. Timo Scheider is 8th, and he has been looking okay in the sectors, 2 personal bests. So can he stay in the top 8? He doesn't need to really go much quicker as long as he stays in, and the lap time, as it turns out, was 21 thousandths slower than his earlier best. So he's in, but by the skin of his proverbial.
Well, that was, an amazing session. And Farfus, Wehrlein, Green, Ekstrom, Tomczyk, as we see Paffett exit his car, and look at the eyes looking on the timing screen that sits above the garage there, and he just shakes his head.
There's not much else he can do, I'm afraid, because we know that Gary hasn't lost it over the winter. He can still deliver. So that's 3 more champions out of our magnificent 7 that we have lost. 7 champions in this year's DTM. And Gary Paffett is the slowest out of the 18 that we have, and therefore, as we made the point during the session, not one Mercedes makes it into Q3.
Well, Toto Wolff had said, don't expect miracles here at Oschersleben. We have worked tirelessly between Hockenheim and here, but it is incremental, whatever improvements they make, which, given that they have the weight advantage they have, because running no performance weight across that manufacturer, clearly he's right. It is going to be incremental improvements. Let's see who's gone through. It's Adrian Tombe, Miguel Molina, Marco Wittmann, Antonio Felix da Costa, Bruno Spengler, Mike Rockenfeller, Edo Mortara, and Timo Scheider. Out then, Augusto Farfus, Pascal Wehrlein, Jamie Green, Matthias Ekstrom, Martin Tomczyk, Maxime Martin, Nico Müller, Joey Hand, Christian Vitoris, and Gary Paffett. All of those going out. One part of qualifying still to come, which will determine the very front end of the grid as the fans enjoy it here at Oschersleben. A bit cloudy, but reasonably warm, and you can see them there with their favourite brand flags, and the Mercedes flag, unfortunately, not one of the favoured brands on the grid, the way things are working out thus far. We saw a little chink, didn't we, from Pascal Wehrlein, who we hoped would be able to do something, but here, David Addison, confirmation of who we lose.
Farfus, 9th then. He missed out by just over a 10th. Pascal Wehrlein, as the best Mercedes driver, has gone. So Jamie Green, Matthias Ekstrom, and Martin Tomczyk. Maxime Martin has gone. DTM rookie Nico Müller has gone as well. Joey Hand, Christian Vitoris, and then Gary Paffett, all out. So that leaves us with 11 more minutes and 8 drivers, but Gary Paffett, 18th fastest after Q2. Big disappointment for the former champion, and he starts tomorrow's second round of the DTM from 18th on the grid. In other words, mired in traffic.
Yes, it's going to be very difficult, and it's going to be difficult for this man as well. But before we talk you through Christian Vitoris, let's speak to Gary Paffett with Verena now.
Gary, what a frustrating qualifying, starting in P18 tomorrow. That's even a worse result than Hockenheimring. Why? What's the problem?
It's not much different. I mean, we had more cars knocked out in Q1 at Hockenheim, so it's definitely not worse. But we're trying things. I mean, we've got a big gap to make up, so we have to try and test different things and try and make progress. And, it takes a while to change things. So I think if anybody expected a massive improvement from 2 weeks, I think they'd be, a bit surprised, because it's not an easy thing to do, to change it. So, we're working. I mean, it was tough, hard work again, same as Hockenheim, but we just have to keep testing, keep trying different things, and we'll get there.
All right, best of luck. Thank you very much, Gary. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. And I tell you what, wouldn't you want Gary as an employee?
Yes,
he tells
right.
it the way it is. You know, they are trying. Toto, as I'd mentioned just a little while ago, was always said, you know, it's going to be, the changes are going to be small. You're not going to notice a big difference. Matthias Ekström now is with Verena.
Eki, you're starting in P12 tomorrow. This morning you were amongst the top 5. Why do you think it didn't work out better than that?
No, I think we have our ideas, but I didn't have any real mistake. Was some dirt in the back straight on my last lap, but it was by far not half a second or the 7/10 we were off pace. So our philosophy was maybe to be a little conservative for the race, but not that conservative for qualifying.
But all in all, it went well for Audi. I mean, we've got 5 Audis in the last 8, so that's not bad. Tomorrow it might rain. Is that better for you?
I love any weather, but I'm fine with rain as well. So still there's a long race to be driven tomorrow.
Yeah, I bet. Thank you very much, Eki. Back to you guys.
It's not so much what he said, it's what he didn't say that's interesting, is it? Because he alluded to the fact he thinks he knows why the car wasn't quick enough, but isn't going to tell us. No. We might find out overnight, but I think Matthias Ekström has had a rather frustrating session there. We know he's got the pace. Don't forget he's second in the championship. Poor old Jamie Green, we lose, but 11th. He was at the end of qualifying, which is not dreadful, but it just does underline how competitive the DTM is this year.
You're absolutely right, as we see Jamie then heading off to be weighed, I don't doubt, as we continue some of our images then from what was the second part of qualifying, and Melina there, and nod of the head there on the pit perch, and there Adrian Tombe, who is continuing his quest and is looking very promising indeed. So the Playboy colours of the Adrian Tombe car. So we see Timo Scheider and champion Mike Rockenfeller there, the cars in the garages. So, well, if we thought the middle part of qualifying was fraught, wait till the next part. But before that, let's talk to the champ with Verena.
Yes, indeed. Here I am with Martin. So, P13, I believe you're starting in tomorrow. What are you going to be able to achieve from there? I mean, it would be nice to be more in the front, right?
Yes, it's always nice to be in the front, but nevertheless, it is like it is now. From the past years, we know in Oschersleben it's not the easiest circuit to overtake. So I hope that it will rain tomorrow. I have some good memories in 2011 where I start 16th and finish second in the rain. So that could be a chance for me. But nevertheless, I was too slow. So that's no doubt, and we have to think about and go in tomorrow's race.
Are you going to do a little rain dance tonight then, or what are you doing tonight?
I guess I'm too old for a rain dance. I hope they just get the water down there. Up.
Okay, so don't lose your bonnet tomorrow. All right, then back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena, and apologies, former champ rather than current champ, who's going to be doing all sorts of things to try and encourage the water tonight, David Addison.
Well, you're going to have to do something, because even though he did have that ripper race 3 years ago, it is not that easy to overtake around here. Somebody else has got to do lots of overtaking. Augusto Farfus.
Augusto, P9, what does that mean for tomorrow? A lot of overtaking if it's possible?
Yeah, well, it's of course not what we were aiming for. We still did not get the car for qualifying exactly where we want, with the balance we want. So, yeah, is it the speed P9? It's okay, but it's not good enough. So we definitely have to aim for something more. We are working on it. We have to understand a little bit why we cannot get the performance out of the single lap. But okay, tomorrow might rain, so a lot of things can happen. Let's focus on tomorrow now on.
All right then, thank you so much. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much. Lots of talk about the weather, isn't there? The qualified drivers then, Tombe, Melina, Wittmann, Felix da Costa, Spengler, Rockefeller, Mortara and Scheider. And who knows what the weather will bring tomorrow, and that might change things a little.
Yeah, the forecast, I think, is for a wet morning and a dry afternoon. But wouldn't it be good if the race started in the wet and dried out, and just throw something else at the teams, apart from the fact they have to work out when to use the option tyre? But if they had to use a rain tyre as well, that would be intriguing, wouldn't it? So, yes, let's hope that we do have something extra for the conditions tomorrow. Well, we've got 11 minutes of Q3. We're underway, and not that many takers. I think people are probably going to try and get one run out of this. And at the moment, Rockenfeller and Scheider in the 2 Phoenix Racing Audis are the ones on track, working their way for the twisty infield section at Oschersleben. And Mike Rockenfeller, as the reigning champion, 4th in the championship, having finished in 4th spot at Hockenheim. You get points if you're in the top 10. He at the moment really has got the road to himself, so any sector time he posts really is going to be the benchmark. Marco Wittmann as the Hockenheim winner, indeed the 65th different winner in the history of the DTM and its 30-year history. He is on track as well now, so the circuit is starting to get a little busier, but ideally you want just one run, don't you, and one quick lap and then save the rubber.
Yes, but there's always a gamble, isn't there? Because if you're going to save it and you're going to do just one run, if you get out just at the wrong time, or you can really have that compromise. I've seen it happen in the past, but Rocky dives in.
Yeah, without having done a lap time, and Scheider the same.
So the circuit then, not very busy. In comes Rocky, here comes Scheider. We've got just over 8 minutes left to run in this session. Look of confusion almost on the pit perch there.
Sessions like this always amuse me because people bide their time, they leave it as long as they can, and then they all go out together and moan about traffic. Well, you've had 11 minutes, chaps, to do it. Marco Wittmann has got the road to himself. Adrian Tombay has now joined in as well, but I guarantee you people will end up getting caught up behind another car towards the very end. Marco Wittmann then is on to a flying lap now, so this, if he stays out, will be the benchmark time. And Marco Wittmann in his 2nd year in the DTM with the new M4 that they're running this year certainly proved his ability in that first round at Hockenheim.
Yes, he did. Ice cool, ice watch. Marco Wittmann, who gave us a high-speed lap here at Oschersleben as well, just at the start of our qualifying program, and really focused now. And he is, what have we got? 31.728 through the first sector. So as he continues this lap, it's going to be the first time that we see, isn't it? Given what we got, 7 minutes left to run in the session. Remarkable, really, because as you've said, David, you know, everyone will moan about traffic right at the very end of the session, whereas at the moment you've just got 3 or 4 cars out there. But anyway, we're with Marco Wittmann at the moment, then high on the adrenaline and the confidence that the victory in Hockenheim has brought. And a quick middle sector as well for Marco Wittmann. You can see the sector times on the screen in front of you. He will be heading towards the start-finish line, and we'll get a time from Marco Wittmann, which will become the benchmark for the 6.5 minutes that remain in this final part of qualifying. And he does a 1:21.350.
It's a bit so what, isn't it? A 21.3 compared to Tombay's 20.0. Granted, you only count your time from the previous part of qualifying if you get knocked out, and therefore that's what you use to determine the grid. If you get to Q3, then it's only your Q3 time that you will use. But there's more to come from Wittmann. Bear in mind, of course, he's doing this with 5 extra kilos of weight on board after that Hockenheim victory. Bruno Spengler, who is in this top 8, is doing the same. Miguel Molina then is the next on track. He had done the best of anybody in the last sector going on to this lap, so we'll now start to get a better comparison perhaps of a BMW with weight relative to an Audi. There you go, quickest of anybody, the absolute best in sector 1.
So a 31.394 then for sector 1 from Miguel Molina in the Audi. Wittmann's time on the left-hand side of the screen at the top there for you, a 1:21.350, which in comparison to time set in the second part of qualifying, not hugely impressive. What can we get from sector 2? A 26.4, going in the right direction here, David.
It's difficult to know really how good this is because we haven't had that many cars against which to compare. However, if he can do 3 purple sectors and do the absolute best lap of the lot, then it's going to be standing him in good stead with 5 minutes to go. Molina up towards the timing line, no traffic around him. It's looked neat, it's looked tidy, it has looked quick, and he goes across the line to go fastest, 1:20.040. Still not quite as good as Tombay in Q2.
No, but he's taken a big hunk of time out of Marco Wittmann, hasn't he?
I said it was neat and tidy, all bar the first chicane, I think, where he got a little bit curb happy. Rattled his way through, and that is going to be the real bottleneck come the opening lap of the race tomorrow, isn't it? That section of the circuit. Mike Rockenfeller has just gone on to a flying lap. Hans-Jürgen Abd approves of Molina's lap time, gives it that nod.
Yes, the nod of approval. Mike Rockenfeller then. The champ out on track, 4.5 minutes left to run. So the champion's yellow and green liveried car then around this Oschersleben circuit. so favoured by the fans because the vantage points are good and varied. You see lots of the track. 31.3 through the first sector.
Which is okay, but it's not sparkling. He's given away a tenth and a bit to Miguel Molina. So this is one of those laps that's going to be good, but I don't think it's going to be an absolute barnstormer from Rocky. He's trying hard. You can see how much of the curb he uses coming onto the back straight, the stadium straight, down to the shell S's. But Miguel Molina is the man to beat. He's just got even faster, in fact, as Molina. He's now done a 1:20.007. So it is Molina and then Wittmann. Can Rockenfeller split them? He wants to be on the front of the grid here.
So here comes Mike Rockenfeller then to complete this lap. 1:20.007 is the benchmark time from Molina then. And well, a 1:26.76 from Rocky, which is okay, but it's, you know, there's 6/10 there.
Exactly. Depends how many more laps he can wring out of the session and out of that set of tyres. Scheider has now gone third, so Wittmann gets pushed down to fourth. What about Tombay? Because he now goes second fastest, 1:20.519. But still, Molina is half a second quicker than anybody else, so they're going to have to dig deep.
Yes, they are. We're on board with Tombay then around the hotel turn here at Oschersleben. Just drives that throttle through the floor of that car. Adrian Tombay then currently second quickest. He's 1:20.519. This then the Red Bull car of Antonio Felix da Costa out on track now. So the way it looks, it's Molina, Tombay, Rocky, then it's Scheider and Wittmann, the top five.
That was a start-up lap from Antonio Felix da Costa, so he's onto a quick lap now. The Portuguese driver, there's Marco Wittmann, who has done 2 personal bests. This is looking a bit more like it. He's got a couple of corners to go up towards the end of the lap. So Wittmann is currently 5th, in other words, the 3rd row, and you can see that he's on the edge, Dave.
Yeah, he was a bit ragged there, wasn't he? Can Wittmann put it all to rights as he crosses the timing line? What's Marco Wittmann going to deliver? He's going to deliver P2, a 1:25.16. Which is
still half a second
it is
away
huge in comparison to Molina.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Da Costa is on the ragged edge as well, and he comes onto the back straight of the circuit, stadium straight now, down to the shell S's. You see, he's bought himself the clear track space. He's done a personal best in Sector 1. Da Costa and Spengler have yet to do a proper lap time. When Spengler's lap time comes, you can anticipate it might get him up to the front of the grid. Antonio Felix da Costa is more the unknown, because don't forget, this is only his 2nd DTM qualifying session. He's still new to the game. He comes then now out of the last corner. The timing line awaits. He'll squeeze another lap out of it anyway, but where will this put him in the 8?
It will put him, P4 is the answer. Molina so confident with his 1:20.007 that he's parked the car. Here is Bruno Spengler then. First 2 sectors green. What can Bruno Spengler do? Of course, he can get another lap in. And truthfully, he's going to want to, isn't he?
It, yeah, absolutely.
A 1:27.03.
That's rather anticlimactic, that. P7, Rockenfeller has pitted. The BMW mechanics watch the data, and they will also see out on track Eduardo Mortara. He is the slowest of the 8 at the moment, but he improved last time, 1:21.113. So Spengler is the man to watch and see what he can wring out of this. Can he improve before the very end? It'll be the flag at the end of this lap for Spengler and Mortara. There's less than a lap time left in the session now.
So Edo Mortara, we are watching.
He's backed out of it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
So that's that done. Mortara is not going to improve because there are no more laps available, and Spengler in the first sector did not improve. Antonio Felix da Costa did improve in the first sector, lost out in the second sector. He does complete the lap though, so if he's really been brave in the last third of the lap, there could be an improvement. 4th is a very good effort anyway.
Indeed it is, as Antonio Felix da Costa crosses the line, and well, P4 is where he stays. So, well, I expected a huge rush, and there kind of wasn't one.
Story of your life, that, isn't it? Yes.
Rather.
I know what you mean. Time set early on, times sort of never came from 1 or 2. Bruno Spengler there, look, personal best in the last sector, suggesting that the next lap should have been better, but there isn't a next lap. He sort of left it too late.
And this is the very point I was making about Q3.
Yeah.
That, you know, it is a real gamble, isn't it? And if you do not give yourself enough time, well, anyway.
In contrast, Molina did that lap early on.
Exactly.
And with a massive margin of half a second. Brilliant job.
I mean, it is a huge margin. Let's just look at that. Molina, a 1:20.007. Wittmann, P2, a 1:25.18. Over 5/10 difference between P1 and P2.
Molina on pole here in 2011. That's a third career pole that he has just taken. And the BMW team will be very happy once again with Marco Wittmann. Bruno Spengler, I suspect, will be rather less celebratory when he gets back to the pit lane.
Maybe so. Maybe so. So, thumbs up there from the BMW team RMG engineers then. All smiles. Really rather as expected as Edo Mortara. But there is Adrien Tombe. Playful thump on his arm there. Here, confirmation of the session 3 of qualifying then. Molina topping it with Marco Wittmann P2, Adrien Tombe P3. Felix da Costa, good showing, P4. Scheider P5, Rocky P6, Bruno Spengler P7 and Edo Mortara P8. It's the spread of the times that's you know, between P1 and P2 that is just absolutely amazing.
So the man that's fastest, a third DTM career pole and his second Oschersleben pole, Miguel Molina, the Spaniard. A great effort in the AB Sportsline car. And as we've been making the point, half a second is the margin, and half a second in the DTM is a big margin to be at the top of the times by. So Molina it is who will make it pole for Audi. Marco Wittmann will line up second on the grid for BMW, continuing at the good pace that he illustrated at Hockenheim. And Molina and Vitaly Petrov are the two that bookend the times. Petrov will start last of all, but Marco Wittmann is second on the grid with the Reinhold Motorsport GmbH operated Icewatch BMW M4. Another very good job. Bear in mind, we talk about Molina with half a second in hand over the rest. Wittmann ahead of Tombe by 3 thousandths.
It's from the sublime to the ridiculous in terms of the gaps, isn't it? But there we can see Marco Wittmann. But there we see Adrien Tombe being congratulated by his team down there. There is Marco Wittmann. Just saw him on the right-hand side of your picture there. Call him this cool cucumber because his facial expression changes so very, very little whenever you see him or speak to him. Here is Adrien Tombe's car then. The Audi with the Playboy livery. And Tombe once again with a jolly good job done and dusted. Still can't get over that 1:20.007 to P2, 1:25.16. So here the full result, and there the times on the right-hand side of the screen. Pick some highlights out of that for me, David.
The man on pole, an excellent job by Molina, and then look for the battles coming in the race. Jamie Green and Matthias Ekström, and indeed Augusto Farfus outside Q3, so they'll be trying to make progress. Maxime Martin I'm a big fan of, and it'll be fascinating to see what progress he can make. Gary Paffett starts 18th, and Timo Glock, if that car is fit and well tomorrow, he's had so little running today, Glock should be a man in a big hurry as well. I think the race will be won and lost tomorrow, partly on when you elect to do your pit stop, but also on how you play the tyres. Do you run the options first or in that second stint? If there's a safety car and you've run them in the first stint, then you are in real strife, but we'll see what pans out tomorrow. Let's hear from Bruno Spengler. He will start 7th.
Right, so Bruno, hello first of all. Quick question, starting from P7 tomorrow, you are fighting really hard. What are you hoping for tomorrow from P7?
Well, I think from P7 everything is possible. We had a pretty good qualifying today. I was quite happy with the car until Q3, and then Q3 suddenly something changed a little bit. I don't know why, we have to analyze, and that's why we were a little bit slower. But still, you know, it's not too bad position. I'm not 100% happy, but great job from the team again, from my engineers. Really well done, and I think we are well prepared for the race. We are ready, and see, you know, P7 with the weather, you never know what can happen. Maybe it's raining. So, you know, it's positive for the race tomorrow.
Best of luck. Thank you very much, Bruno, and back to you guys.
He is P7, put him up against his teammate at Schnitzer, who is P13. There's a bit more optimism, and Bruno, even though he understands that it's not an easy track at which to overtake, saying anything is possible from 7th on the grid, so he's still fighting.
And he went on to say, didn't he, that the weather could play a part tomorrow. We will see. There we see our pole sitter, Molina. What a great job he did. 1:20.007, as we see Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich there being congratulated by Jens Marquardt. And the baseball cap goes on.
Just one adjunct to qualifying. Adrian Tombay is under investigation for an unsafe release. Now, whether that is to do with the incident with Mike Rockenfeller that we saw earlier on in qualifying, or it's a separate one, because that was Rocky being released into the path of Tombay, not him, don't know. That's the information we have. But there might be more to the story than just the times. Let's hear on an Audi note from Hans-Jürgen Abt.
Hans-Jürgen Abt, you must be really happy. I mean, with the pole position, also P3, how is it? How do you feel?
Oh, it's a great feeling because we worked really hard this weekend to achieve a pole position, and Molina was really in another world because he was so fast. I'm really happy.
Magic Molina is back.
Of course, I think he feels very comfortable with us in the team, and he's back. He liked the track here in Oschersleben, and I hope we will keep on for the race tomorrow.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you very much, Hans-Jürgen Abt, and back to you guys.
Well, I think Audi are going to be pretty content with life. They've had a good session, and with an Audi on pole position by that margin, yep, Magic Molina is back and back with a vengeance.
One of their press releases said they head to Oschersleben with a tailwind. And I think we've seen that play out in qualifying, haven't we?
Great job by Molina, and of course the Audi guys with all the data that they've stored over the years, and AB Sportsline we know is one of the top teams. I'm not suggesting that BMW is not a top brand yet, but of course it has not been in the current generation of the DTM for as long, so they're still picking a few things up. Jens Marquardt, I'm sure, will be very pleased with the efforts of Marco Wittmann to be second as he strides down the pit lane. Wolfgang Ulrich does likewise to go and talk to the troops. And at Mercedes, they're probably on suicide watch by now. It's been such a miserable session once again, with the best of the three-pointed stars being just 10th on the grid. That is Oschersleben. It's a tight, twisty, paperclip style circuit with a twisty infield. There are some fast sections, there are some chicanes. It's a dramatic part of the DTM landscape. And for tomorrow's race, they're going to line up with Miguel Molina and Marco Wittmann on the front row of the grid.
And we move back to the next row, which sees the Adrian Tombay car, and alongside Adrian Tombay is Antonio Felix da Costa.
Row 3 of the grid is all Audi. Timo Scheider just outpacing Mike Rockenfeller.
Then we see the BMW bank car of Bruno Spengler with Edo Mortara alongside.
Those are the drivers that made it to Q3. These are the ones that didn't. They're headed 9th by far for BMW. Pascal Wehrlein in the best Mercedes 10th.
Then we see the orange car of Jamie Green, and alongside him is slightly disappointed Matthias Ekstrom.
He did better than former teammate Martin Tomczyk, though, who is 13th, and Maxime Martin starts 14th.
Then we see Nico Muller and the American racer Joey Hand, P15 and 16.
17th on the grid is where you find Christian Vitoris, and 18th is a very disappointed Gary Paffett.
Then we see Timo Glock, power steering problems, and Robert Wickens alongside him.
Those two being drivers that didn't make it out of Q1. The same true of former champion Paul di Resta and the Spaniard Daniel Pontadea.
And then bringing up the rear, it's Vitaly Petrov in his first season in DTM. That the grid for the race that we can look forward to here at Oschersleben tomorrow, as we take another heli shot of the paperclip shaped circuit as you described, which is really just in the middle of a field, just to the just outside the tiny little village, I think you'd say, rather than town, of Oschersleben here. Yeah. We're about a couple of hours, I suppose, from Berlin, maybe a couple of hours from Hanover as well, but always very, very well attended here. It's a great DTM circuit, and let's head to the international press conference right now with Peter Reichardt.
Steffi, komm mal zu mir.